Gig Gab, episode 440 for Tuesday, July 30th. Share a Hug Day 2024. And I got to play the right music because otherwise it's just going to sound wrong. There we go. Woo! Greetings, folks, and welcome to Gig Gab, the show by, for, and about working musicians here on Share a Hug Day in Durham, New Hampshire. With something in my throat, I'm Dave Hamilton, and with me, who knows what he has in his throat as my guest co-host today, Mike Schulte. Thanks for coming back to the show, my friend.
It is always good to be here, man. Especially when you're just. I think we got something special brewing today. I can tell you're just going for it today. You know,
why not? Why not? I have a question. I know we have a bunch of gigs to that we've each played to talk about and all of that, and I think you've got some potentially life-changing scenarios coming up that you'll also want to talk about. But I have an important question for you, my friend. Have you ever done karaoke, and why is it okay to do? And what's the matter with musicians who won't do it?
Oh yeah, that's weird to me. I am a terrible singer. I cannot sing. I wish I could. It'd be amazing if you took my drive and gave me like a good voice. Oh my God, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I'd be well-known star around the world, you know. But
that's right.
I love karaoke because I think it's funny. Like, I think it's funny on multiple levels. One, the people that really take it seriously, that, you know, you've seen them, the lifer karaoke people that think they have a great voice because they do karaoke. And it's totally different than performing with a band. And then those are the people that join a band and it just doesn't work out well. That's funny to me, but then it's also funny to me the people that do not take it seriously, which is me. That is like, you know, I only have a couple songs I'll do, usually like Total Eclipse of the Heart, but I'll do it the Dan Band way, you know, dropping all the F-bombs in it from,
sure.
Was that Old School? You know, like, I have to be very, very drunk to do it, but I don't think I've ever met.
We call that singing juice, Mike, or at least that's what someone called it at the last karaoke thing I was at. Singing juice. Yes,
I don't think, I think the only person I know that can be a little hesitant about karaoke is the singer of the Pork Tornadoes, Mason. It's not that he's like thinks he's too good for it, but I do think that he does realize that if he gets up there and does it, it may take the strength out of the room a little bit to the guys that want to do it. Yeah. You know, and I don't mean that in a way where he's like, oh, I'm so much better than them, but I think he does at least have a grasp on that to say this is their time. He's
self-aware.
Yes.
I was at I will generally stay out of the mix of karaoke. Like I won't throw my hat in the ring. I'm an okay lead singer. But I know how to sing in tune, right? Like that's the strength I have with singing. I know how to sing in tune and I can sing harmonies, right? If forced, I can sing leads and I'm fine, but I'm rarely the best lead singer in any band I'm in, you know, because my voice is just like whatever. It's not, I don't have any characteristics to it. It's just, I just sing. Maybe today I would with these allergies or whatever. Yeah. But I know that that when I go sing, people are like, oh, well, crap. Now I don't want to have to follow that, you know, and it's like, well, I know how to perform.
Yes.
And my problem is like when and this sounds so stupid, but like when I go up, I can't just sit there and like just sing a song. Like it's got to be fun. Like it's karaoke.
Yes, it's karaoke.
And you're in a room of people that are like supportive of you no matter how good or bad you are and all of those things. And so I was at this conference for Apple users a couple of weeks ago, and they had like a sort of scheduled, sort of impromptu, loosely organized, let's call it karaoke. And, you know, it was fine. It was just us. There was no like karaoke host other than one of the members of our like little conference group. And she's one of those people that loves karaoke. And so she'll do it all the time. And we just set it up with an iPad and Bluetooth and a speaker and, you know, some microphones, and it was good to go. It was great. And invariably, the problem is I am well known in this community. because of my other podcast and, started Mac Observer and all that stuff. So it's like, and they know I can sing because they've seen me with the Macworld All-Star Band, which is what I was in it with Paul, or at least they've heard about those gigs. And so it's a weird balance for me because it's like, well, I want to support everybody else. And I know that if I go up and sing, somebody's going to feel like, well, I can't sing like that guy. It's like, well, because you don't do it every weekend like I do, but that's really the extent of my skills here, or that I just do it often enough. That's it.
And you're around people that do it very well. That's how you know how to do it better,
That's how you know how to do it better. Right. Exactly. And so, but I can't not go up because then I'll seem like I'm being a jackass, And so I went up and I sang. I had forgotten what it was like singing after talking for 3 days at a conference. That's terrible. I went up and sang like The Secret or something, which is a song I've sang a million times, and like I can always hit the notes, and was like, oh, not today.
Ooh, wow.
Okay, well that's okay. Like, great. Now it's not as good as it could have been. Like, this is what karaoke should be. I'm just going for it anyway. And then I went up and sang Rocket Man, and I crushed it. And people were like, where did that come from? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's
the juice I've been drinking right there.
It's singing juice. Yeah.
Singing juice,
but by that point, everybody was loosened up. But I don't get the people who, like the musicians, like your singer Mason. That comes from a place of self-awareness, not a place of pompousness.
I'm too good for this,
Correct. The I'm too good for this thing. Like, what are you talking? Like, this is different than being on stage. It's a different kind of performance. It's a different atmosphere. Like, I don't know.
Now, believe me, he'll start the night off being like, nah, dude, I sing for a living. Like, let's let these people have fun. But then if you keep pressuring him and giving him singing juice, he's going to go up there and he's going to overdo it and just destroy. And it's like, you asked for it.
You asked for this. That's yeah, exactly. Right. I can't sing like Mason can sing, but yeah, that's kind of how it was like, we need to let a few more people go and then fine.
Yes,
I'll
exactly.
Go sing.
They got to let people like me go because I'm like, whatever. Sounds dumb.
Whatever.
Let's have fun.
You need to show people that it's okay to the point of karaoke is not to be fantastic.
Yeah.
It's to entertain, and it's really just about the support in the room. I always think
it's beer league hockey, it's beer league softball. It's letting people that just really like to do this but aren't good enough just to have some fun. It's when the guy that played college hockey shows up at your beer league game and just starts dominating. You're like, why are you even here? Why are you doing this? This is for us, not for you.
Yeah, get out of here, buddy. You already had your fun.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Let's talk about some of our gigs, because I think we both had some. You've had some, like, you've had a stretch here. I mean, it's summertime. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, July is always our busiest month, and for some reason, this July was the most shows we've ever done in the short period of time. We did 11 shows in like 22 days, and these are not just like bar gigs or whatever. These are just giant festival shows that every one of them we had to be on point. We had to make sure we did well, or else that could cause a chain reaction of not getting asked back again last year. And these shows were booked 10 months ago, something like that, 11 months ago. And then I found out that my wife was pregnant with a second little baby girl after all this was booked. And of course we go to that appointment and they're like, yep, she's going to be due about July 30th. I'm like, oh my God, I'm looking at the calendar just going,
Mike, that's today.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to induce her tomorrow. We had to change some stuff around, but
got it.
I'm looking at the calendar going, what are we going to do? When my first daughter was born, same thing happened. And we talked to the band and we said, okay, how do we handle this? Because we can't cancel these shows. And that is the important thing to note, that all of these, if I were to say, hey guys, we're going to labor, cancel that show, it would be a very bad thing for us, because you're letting down your entire crew, you're letting down your band, you're letting down the production agency, you're letting down the committee, the sponsors, everyone who worked to put on this show. You're just like, can't do it anymore, sorry. So
you went into this with the prime directive of, the show must go on in a sense.
We have to. We now all have. We have 7. When my daughter's born, we'll have 7 kids among all 4 of us now, and we've never canceled a show for it. But there's that danger zone. Like, I'm not missing the birth of my child to play the show, so we need something to happen. So 2 years ago, we got a sub drummer, brought him up to speed. We paid him money to basically reserve dates on the calendar and say, here's money. Just if you don't play, you made money and you did some work, good time. But if we need you, show up. My drums will be there. Play it. Here's more money. And we didn't have to do it. I played on a Saturday night, and then Sunday morning she went into labor, so everything was great.
Perfect.
But this time I asked the boys, I said, what do you want to do? And they're like, we don't want to play with anyone else. Like, our show is so tight and well designed to what it is for us 4 people that putting a sub on stage in front of 10,000 people is just going to completely derail the show. And I get it because our bass player, Corey, actually just had a child 2-3 months ago that ended up having to go into NICU, and he missed two shows. But remember, I told you we had gone into the studio. So we just turn on a bass track and nobody knows. But drums, as you know,
it's different.
It's a
visual thing. Yeah.
The visual thing. And so what they ultimately decided, I left it up to them. They said, let's use your drum tracks. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, we're serious.
Did they practice? Did they rehearse this a little bit so that like they knew what they were committing to?
So
I don't think that.
So check it out. We were in the studio. We recorded everything, like where we got the bass and where we got everybody's vocals. And so I had our engineer just give me kick, give me snare, give me hat, give me both toms, give me both overheads. Like, I have 5 tracks now. I went in and I put them in every song into our Ableton. So they're individually controlled by the sound engineer. And guess what?
Okay.
We tried it at a sound check.
So the band does have an experience, albeit limited, with this to know what they have agreed to. Yeah.
Well, and we tried it at a sound check. It is me playing drums. It is me playing my drums the same way that they would normally hear it at a show. And
except
you know what?
Not.
I went out front and it was surprisingly good, but also our front of house guy's like, yeah, that's not ideal. He's like, I can make it work, but it's not ideal, So I spent all this time putting it every song we do, and then I also filmed myself playing it on a video so that we could put it up on our video screen and I would start the show off being like, hey guys, sorry, my wife's in labor. I can't make the show, but we're live streaming from the room next door. I set up in the hospital. And of course, it would have been fun. It would have been fun. It would have been hilarious. But also, I think
without a drummer on stage, you have to acknowledge it to the crowd. Like,
you have to.
Missing a bass player, missing a guitar player. Like, there are certain instruments where you won't notice. Like, there's enough people on stage that you sort of like your mind lets it go a little bit. But if you hear drums and you don't see drums, that's a pretty obvious disconnect.
And I knew that by doing all this work, I knew that we wouldn't have to use it. And I'm thankful. I'm glad to put that effort in to make sure it doesn't have to happen, because like that would have been tough, man. It would have been really tough for them to do it. But that's the world we live in right now, is that we cannot cancel a show because there's so many people relying on it, especially this show. Like, I don't know how much you've saw on maybe Facebook, but it's called Ragbri. It's this bike ride from the western side of Iowa to the eastern side of Iowa. People ride like 550 miles on bicycles from town to town to town across 7 days. And every night is this giant party in the town. We're talking 10 to 15,000 people every night. And we can't not play that show. That is our biggest show of the year. And if we were to just cancel it, goodbye forever.
Yeah, you're no longer on the top of the list. You might not be on the list. That's right.
So I put a credit to my dudes in the band to just be like, hey, whatever it takes. And they were on board. They're like, it's gonna suck, but like, we'll do it because this is how we want to make it work. The other option is hiring a sub, and then the show just doesn't feel correct, where maybe it doesn't sound right to them with this drum tracks, but they know what's happening. They know that
I have another idea.
Yeah.
You have an electronic kit.
I do.
Right. So that means the band has an electronic kit, and an electronic kit could be assembled on stage. You could play your drum tracks
with the sub?
With a sub playing along to your drum, miming your drum tracks on an electronic kit. Now you kind of get the best of both worlds ish.
That's pretty good.
He would need to really know your parts. Like, I mean, to a degree. If a fill doesn't work, somebody asked us about, somebody sent me a video the other day of The Who miming, it was actually The Seeker. And he was like, I didn't realize The Who ever did this for videos. And he asked, hey, how do you, like, as a drummer, how do they sort that out? Like, I can see where the guitar players and the singers can kind of fake their way through, but drums is pretty, if you're watching the drummer, I'm like, well, that's the thing, is nobody actually like other drummers watch for that, but nobody actually watches for that. And I sent him a video of what we did in Bitter Pill last year, 2 years ago, this song, Jesus Gonna Pay My Tab. We recorded it in the studio. Then we did a video.
Yeah,
a music video in a club called the Stone Church. So it was kind of fitting for, Jesus and like the whole thing, and the band's costumes change in the middle of the video and like all this stuff. But I thought about it going in. I'm like, I'm going to go back and like learn all of my fills exactly as I played them on the record so that I can get it right. And spoiler alert, I did not learn all of my fills as I played them on the record. I learned the intro fill and maybe one of them, but I think a lot of it I learned as we were doing different takes because we had the song playing that we were playing along with, but there's obvious spots in the video where like I play a thing and that's not what is you hear and no one cares. It's fine. So I think that like to satisfy the visual element of a drummer on stage, you could do that.
Well, hopefully we just don't have to worry about this ever again because there will not be a third child. Let's just put it that way. And we will just, but it was, man, July was like, I'm realizing I'm not a young man anymore because what we just did in July was a young man's game. And like, I'm talking 4 shows in a row where we went from Iowa to Minnesota to Iowa to Minnesota, 4 in a row over the 4th of July. 11 shows in 22 days. Like, man. The last show I just did on Saturday to kind of end that run, I couldn't have played another song if you asked me to. Like, I was just like, I'm spent. I just can't do it, dude. Yeah. But so worth it because, like, I just feel like we're absolutely in perfect harmony. We've never played better in our entire lives. Crowds have never been bigger. And all this work we just put into not only made us and our crew and our family money, but also like next summer's already booked already pretty much because of like the work we've been doing. Because of
this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a game that builds upon itself. You don't just magically get these kinds of gigs. You build up to them, and it's your consistency and reliability and all of those things, and your ability to perform, and deliver. But that, to me, that's table stakes when you're talking about this stuff. Yeah, I had my gig life this summer, as I mentioned, is a little different because I have been sort of searching for a new band. I have found another band to add to my roster. I can't talk about it yet because the drummer doesn't know they're being replaced.
No.
Oh yeah.
No, there's like 17 drummers listening to the show going, uh-oh. Yeah. I live in Dave's area.
I don't think it's any of you. Let me put it this way. The person being replaced is not anyone I know, nor is it anyone with whom I've ever communicated because of this show.
Okay,
so,
well, we'll find out.
We'll find out. Yeah, right. I can't say you're not a listener because I don't personally know every one of you. But yeah, I'll tell the story once we get to the end, but I don't want to, it's not my news to share with this person and they don't know. But so I've been rehearsing for this band, and it's a cover band, right? I wanted to add a cover band that gigs like about once or twice a month to my roster so that I kind of have things in there along with the Bitter Pill stuff. Which is generally only the summer Bitter Pill, some gigs in the fall, and then the winter and spring is pretty light for gigs. That's when we write new songs and record. So I've been learning new songs for that, but I've also been playing. We played a Bitter Pill gig a couple weeks ago at this radio station near us, which was a total blast and a good turnout, and the band played well, and it was just that band. Like we've been saying, you play together long enough, you learn each other, everything just sort of fall. It's so nice when it just gels. My
I
friend's
couldn't imagine
country
being in a band where like members are rotating in and out like over a decade.
no.
It's just you can't do it, man.
It's tough. It's not the same, right?
Yes.
It's different. I love subbing. I like being the one that subs because, as we've talked about,
That's way different.
you get to be the Superman that comes in and saves the day. My friend's country band that you and I have talked about, that I have had, I think now 3 sub gigs for. Every one of them has been canceled either because of weather or some other weird thing. So I have another one of those coming up on Sunday. By all rights, there's no reason it should be canceled. It should definitely happen. And I think it will, only because the logistics of it are kind of a mess for me. The gig is from 3 to 4. It's about 2 hours away in Massachusetts. It's a power hour kind of thing at this festival that's happening down in Situate, Mass. And then that night, I've got to be about 45 minutes away. I'm going to see a friend of the show, Matt Musty, who plays drums in Train. I'm going to see him with Train later, and I have about a 2-hour window from when the show ends to drive the hour and make it to the venue. So it's all going to be really tight. The band is providing me drums. Like, I finish the set, throw my sticks on the ground if I want, and peace out. But I figured because the logistics are such that it's going to be stressful, that's why the gig's going to happen, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
If it was like totally chill and laid back, and then the gig wouldn't happen because these gigs always seem to get canceled. But and then so I've been learning songs for that again. Some of them are the same. They've added some new ones, obviously. And then I've been learning songs for this new band, and I found I think I've ruined myself, Mike. I talked about my system for learning songs, where I would like print out the PDF with chords or not print out, but put on my iPad the PDF with chords and lyrics, and then mark it up my own little way, and that's how I learn the songs. I had a lot of songs to learn, and I was like, there was one song where I was like, oh, it was Panama by Van Halen. And I was like, where does this song start? It's on the end of one, right? But I'm like, where does this song start? I think it's on the end of one. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it is. I'm like, somebody's charted out the beginning of this, right? And so I found like an image of like you could buy the drum chart for Panama thing, and I'm like, I look at the beginning, I'm like, yeah, there's that. Like, I really kind of would like the drum chart for this. Like, this would be interesting to see because he plays a lot of weird angular fills in that tune. It'd be cool to see him all charted out, and I can read music. And so I start looking, and then I realize that the place that I go to get all of my song chart PDFs is Ultimate Guitar, and at ultimate-guitar.com or whatever it is. And they have, for most songs, they have their professional, they're like pro done. Yeah. Not just chord charts, but they've got tablature for every instrument or sheet music for every instrument. And I found out it includes drums.
You're like, what?
I know. And it was like, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to know this. Because I can sight read a lot of things.
Yeah.
But the problem with sight reading something is it requires me not to have to spend any time with the song before I go play it.
Very true. Very true.
So for a sub gig, this would be great. Unfortunately, only about half of the modern country stuff has been converted in there. So it's like I've got half of it, but that's fine.
Good.
I'd rather have the rest, but it's fine. But like for classic rock, 100% of the song. Everything. Of course it's all there. And the drum charts are right. Like I played through this tune. I don't want to share the set list because they do some songs. Eventually, I'll talk about this. But there was a song that I knew of the song, but I'd certainly never played it before and never really paid attention to it before. And there's like an 8-bar drum solo in the middle of it, right? So I just sit down. I got all the sheet music. I put it on my iPad. I sit down. I start playing it. I'm like, yeah, this song's cool. And I flip the page, and it's like, why are there all those extra notes down there?
What happened?
What's coming up here? And then suddenly, like, I'm playing this solo, and it wasn't perfect, but it would have been more than fine for a gig. I could see where the accents were, and it was like, oh, okay, I can hit these, like, no problem. I should have looked at this, but it doesn't matter. It's almost over, and now we're done, kind of thing. And it was like, I don't know if this is a good thing or not. I think it might be okay because I did that. So I normally my process is I will listen to songs as I'm prepping them because that's the only way to like build the little chart out. With this, it was the opposite. I just put all the PDFs on my iPad and then I sat at my drums and I just played through all of these songs. And some of them I knew because some of these songs are just songs you know. And then some I don't know. And there were a lot kind of in the middle of I know this song, but not well enough to just go and play it, you know. But then I was listening, so I played them all through. And it was great. I was like, oh, I've ruined myself now. I'm never going to memorize another song so long as I shall live, you know. And then I was listening to them afterwards and picking up on things and like, was like, oh, this might actually be a really great way to learn songs because now I've had the experience of playing it not incorrectly.
Yep.
Now I can listen to it. It's like I've already had the first rehearsal.
No, that's great. I think that's great.
Yeah. I think it's actually going to work out better. Yeah.
I wish that's where I really wish I could read music because, man, that'd just be amazing to just be able to play through and go, oh, yeah, duh, it's this, you know, just to see it. And you see it and hear it. I have to listen to it and hear it, you know, like that's kind of how. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's there's a couple of stages for me in terms of like when I'm reading sheet music. The first stage is I don't actually see it and hear it. I see it and my hands know what to do. It's like there's a shortcut between just my eyes and my hands. Yeah. And so my hands do like my eyes see a pattern and my hands play my hands and feet play the thing that matches the pattern. And then like the next time through, it'll be like, oh, okay, I see how this should go. And I can be a little more musical about it. And it evolves from there. Yeah. But that first time through, I'm kind of a passive observer in a sense where it's just autopilot mostly.
Yep.
And but that experience of listening to the songs afterwards, it was like, oh, now I know how to listen to this to learn it better. So just like, which is generally how I feel after the first rehearsal of, oh, I've played these through. Now I know what I need to, now I know what I don't know.
Right.
And I can go back and like, oh, that one part. Oh, okay. And I went back and listened to that little like sort of drum solo thing. And it was like, oh, I see what he's doing. Okay. Like, got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you found that other band, man. I hope it ends up being the missing piece, you know?
I think it will be. I mean, it's impossible to know for sure.
You never know.
You never know. But I wound up auditioning with bands, probably 8 different bands that I actually went and played with. There were many more that I talked with, and it was like, okay, like, you know, and there were a lot that I finished the audition and they're like, all right, you've got the gig. I'm like, well,
you don't have the gig.
It turns out, no. I mean, I was always very nice about it because there were everybody that I played with was great people. It was like, no, I am looking for perfection here. And if I wait a year and I haven't found perfection and I'm freaking out that I don't have enough gigs, well, then I'll lower the bar. You know, it's fine. And I think I found the right band. Yeah.
I think about that a lot. I think we've talked about it before that, you know, I've been in Pork Tornadoes for 12 to 13 years now. And like, I'm so lucky. It's not lost on me what I've been a part of. So like the idea of if this band ends, like trying to find another band to play with would be so hard. It's kind of like I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, you know, we've been dating for 16 years and I'm like, babe, if we call it quits, I don't think I'm going back out there because like it's like a different world. I don't want to, like, you know, back 12, 13 years ago, I knew what bands were like and I was subbing a lot. So I'm like, yeah, I know how to do this, but now I would be clueless how to figure that out.
I had to kind of refigure it out. Because I had gotten out of it, you know, with Fling and then Uptown sort of filling in and obviously Bitter Pill sort of being the foundation, at least for the last 5 years or so. It's been great. And Bitter Pill stays in Bitter Pill is part of the foundation here still, like absolutely. But, you know, the other bands sort of faded away. And so I had to relearn. I guess the one difference is that even though I wasn't subbing, I was doing the, 1 to 3 theater gigs a year. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like, it's a new band that you're assembled with. It might be including some members you've met in the past or played with, but the band is rarely the same, right? It's always like, well, I haven't played with this bass player or this bass player and this guitar player, and we've all played together, but never together. Like we played with each other, but never together, or this keyboard player, or whatever.
You were friends, but now you're in a relationship,
But now we're in a relationship. Yeah. And so I think I know that kind of kept that part of my skill set somewhat polished, of like being able to go in and know that, all right, day one, if I walk into a Bitter Pill rehearsal and I've been having a bad day, we were supposed to learn a song, I didn't, whatever, I'm not playing well, I'm not singing well, whatever, everybody's going to give me a pass. And the same would go for everybody else in the band. You do that too much, you show up unprepared too much, then they'll give you a pass, and then they'll also give you a conversation, like as you would in a band that's established and everybody trusts each other and there's love and all those things. But first day of a theater rehearsal, there might be some love, but like you're expected to show up and deliver, because, by the way, the show opens in 4 days. So yep. And if you didn't deliver today, you better stay up all night and get enough sleep to show up tomorrow rehearsed and energized and ready to do it, because that's it. So I feel like that kept enough of that alive, and certainly it kept my reading jobs alive, which is great. Yeah.
Well, dude, I got a question for you.
What's your question?
It just popped up in my brain. Well, first of all, let's just start. Let's preface this a little bit, that I'm on record as saying that maybe if I did start a new band, maybe I'd go more the tribute band route a little bit, because of, like when you look at variety band, Pork Tornadoes is a variety band. We play anything from 80s through today, from rock to country to pop. That's how I feel most bands were like 15, 20 years ago. But this resurgence of tribute bands, where you can pick one artist, you can pick one decade. It's an instant, like me and you could start a band right now, and we're Bon Jovi tribute band, and we could book a show.
Weird because they'd have two drummers, but it's fine.
No, I'm a singer. We've already talked about.
Oh, that's right. We established this.
I'm really good.
Oh yeah, you're really good at this.
Man.
Really.
No, but we could book a show immediately with.
You're halfway there. That's that. In fact, that's the name of the band.
The band's name is We're Halfway There, and we'll never actually get there, but we're halfway there.
We're halfway there.
But if we had good promo, if we had good photos and good videos, we could book our first show and have 500 people there. Like, it is an instant guarantee. Whereas these variety bands, you gotta go into that market. Okay, you got 10 people now. Next time they'll bring back a couple of their friends, and then it's this ability to just right away.
Yes,
and I think that's why so many people are doing tribute bands. But here's my question: there is a band in Cedar Rapids. They are a tribute band to the Foo Fighters. They're called the Fresh Fighters.
Okay,
and dude, I've never seen a tribute band nail it as perfect as they do, especially Foo Fighters stuff.
Yeah,
they're so good. But they just do Iowa. Like, we got families. We don't play that often. We just play Iowa.
Okay.
Yesterday, a Foo Fighters tribute band from like New York announced a show in Cedar Rapids.
Oh.
And I'm sitting here wondering, like, okay, number one, should there be territories for tribute bands? Because if I'm the other band, I'm coming into a territory where there's already a really good band. So why am I expecting that people are going to come out to see me when they already have one? And then two, from the local band's perspective, like, you got to feel pretty threatened, where if a band like the Pork Tornadoes comes into town, okay, like we might have 4 or 5, 6 songs that overlap, but I bet we play them different, and we're not advertising the same. But
you're not attempting to be exactly the same thing as someone else, right?
You both are trying to do the exact same thing, and so I just, like, my brain's spinning about this whole idea of like tribute bands clashing with each other, because you get this instant gratification for a tribute band, but chances are someone's already started that Bon Jovi tribute band, and they're probably better than you, and they've probably
you're only halfway there. They're all the way there.
They're all the way there, man.
That's right.
Have you ever thought about that before, like territories for tribute bands?
I have, in so much as, like, I think a tribute band would be something that I could add to my roster, even with this other band coming in, right? Because it's because of the territorialness of it, you would ostensibly find something that's not, that need is not fulfilled in your area in whatever way you're going to fill it, right? And then B, you can only go play that tribute show once every 6 to 8 weeks for the same people, maybe even less than that, right? So is it, like I had I had Laura Supan on talking about managing your original band, and it was like you play your home market once a year. Mm-hmm. And so, with a tribute band, maybe you can play it 2 or 3 times a year, but like that's kind of pushing it. So from the standpoint of Dave wants to make sure his schedule is full, and a tribute show could be fun if it's the right music and the right band and the right people, but it also isn't going to be a once a week thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not doing that. So yes, I have thought about the territorialness of it, but never from the standpoint of, well, we can't allow them in. We got to go break some kneecaps here. Like I don't know, but I can see this.
The singer, I was like, did you see this? He's like, oh yeah, I saw it.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, are you gonna go? He's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to think. Either I'm gonna go and then I'm gonna look weird because I also look like Dave Grohl and that guy looks like Dave Grohl and we're gonna have a fight, or I'm gonna go and justify the fact that I know that I'm better than them and that only 10 people showed up for their show. Because let's say you are a Foo Fighters fan and you love this local band, Fresh Fighters, because they're so good, and you just saw them last month, and in 2 months you're planning on going to see this really big show they're putting on. Why would you also go to see the other one? Like, do fans think about that, or is that just a musician thing? I don't know.
So in our area, I know that we have at least 2 Tom Petty tribute bands. I had one of them on the show a year and a half ago or something. I had Bruce from Being Petty on, and right before they started really playing and doing well, now they are crushing it. And they got their whole start because there was a tribute band day at Meadowbrook in Guilford, New Hampshire, which is like where I've actually seen the Foo Fighters, the actual Foo Fighters there. I mean, they have A-list concerts coming in. Chris Stapleton's there this weekend. Train was just there last weekend, I think. So, but they did an afternoon of all tribute bands, and they had another, the other, being Tom Petty tribute band or whatever, slated for it, and then realized that there was a proximity clause issue where they had another gig, and so they couldn't, another gig within 90 days before or after, whatever the proximity clause of a different venue was, or maybe this venue's proximity clause or something. And they're like, oh yeah, you can't do it. And that's how Being Petty got on the bill there, was that proximity clause. And they leveraged the crap out of it and turned it into a springboard for their career, which has been great. I think that's awesome. So I know that you can have, if it's the right band and they perform well, you can have multiple tribute bands in the same area, maybe. But as a fan of live music, I'm a Rush fan. Grew up a Rush fan, still a Rush fan, and we are very fortunate here. There are a lot of Rush tribute bands around the country, around the world. I've seen a couple of them. We have what I believe is the best one here. It's this band called Lotus Land. They are a 3-piece band. Their bass player looks enough like Geddy Lee. None of the other guys don't look anything like Alex or Neil. I mean,
I like that. I don't want you to have the whole band looking like them. That
right,
weirds me out.
But this guy plays bass, plays keys, sings like Geddy Lee could back in the early 80s. No, this band, and they all play their butts off. They are, it's the closest thing that you're going to see today to what a Rush concert would have been like. And that includes if Alex and Geddy find another drummer and go play. Because Geddy can't sing like Geddy used to be able to sing, right? This guy, Chris Nelson, can sing like Geddy Lee. Geddy Lee used to be able to sing. And so they are fantastic. But I only go see them once a year.
Yeah, of course.
And I wouldn't go see another Rush. I wouldn't go out of my way to see another Rush tribute. If I was stuck in some town on a business trip or whatever, and it was like, oh, there's a Rush tribute band. Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, let's go. But, I get my Rush fix going to see these guys. So if another one came into town, I don't know how well it would do. But I know these guys tour around. They've played maybe this half of the country. They kind of tour. They all have day jobs and all that.
But that's the thing. You can, like, if the Pork Tornadoes today wanted to go on a nationwide tour, we can do it because we spent 16 years finding fans on YouTube, but it would be like 30 people here, 50 people
Correct.
there. Where if we started our Bon Jovi tribute band and we had the right promo, we could 1,000,000% sell 100, 150, 200 tickets in any major town that we wanted to if we did it right. And that is why I think so many people are flocking towards it. And it's just that easy, like I've said this before, man, the beauty of being in the Pork Tornadoes has given me everything I've ever dreamed about from a young age of the wanting to feel like a rock star and wanting to play in front of 1 million people that are singing. It's not your song, but they're singing what you're playing.
The same song that you are, right?
That has given me everything I've wanted. And I think if I was 25 years old right now and I was ready to start my path, I think that's the route I'd go, to tribute band, because like you just instantly get it. Like you get that vibe right off the bat. No matter what, as long as you're doing it right, you automatically get that.
I get that. I think there's a market. There's an in-between here too. Like there's the variety bands that generally play clubs.
Like a decade?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean below that, like the variety bands that are just playing clubs, right? We'll call those typical cover band, right? And there's not much different between in terms of, if you looked at the song list, between the typical cover band and then what we'll call the variety band, the decade, the Fortune. I had Bob Vos on. That band's been playing 30 years, and they sell out 500 seat venues throughout New England, probably every 8 weeks, which is a lot, But they're doing it, and but they're playing all the songs that look like their set list is a cover band set list, but they're doing them at a much higher level. And they're putting on a show. Yeah. They understand that live music is a visual art. Not only do you have to have the talent and deliver, you've got to engage with your crowd. You've got to put on a show for them, right? And so I think that there's less distinction between the variety band that's putting on the show and the tribute band that's out there. Because if you market it right, and it is all about the marketing, then you can wind up kind of getting some of that there. Like one of our more popular tribute bands in this area is a band called Foreigner's Journey. And as you might guess, they play the songs of Foreigner and Journey. And they've had rotating lead singers. They had Konstantin Maroulis, who was on American Idol for a while, as their singer, and they've had other people in the band too. And they but they get it. Like they're playing at that level. They're kind of pushing the marketing the gigs properly and all that. So yeah, I think there's, if you're going to start a tribute band now, my advice would be like, take a look at the market, because I do think that there is, whether you want there to be a territorialness to tribute bands or not, there is, just by nature of what will the crowds go and see.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't exactly pick like, oh geez, like, I don't know. You can't be like a Cranberries tribute band, because people are going to be like, heck yeah, Zombie, yeah. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, what? I don't really know the rest of the songs, because you really got to pick a band. Even going to see Fresh Fighters, like I told you, you guys should check them out. They're called Fresh Fighters. They're unbelievable, but they'll play like a 3-hour show, and even a band like Foo Fighters, you start getting into some deep cuts in 3 hours, where the general person's going to be like, huh? I don't know this song. What is this? What
is this?
Yeah, where Pork Tornadoes, like we're down to we're only doing about 2 hours right now. That's kind of what our contract says, and it's impossible to pick a 2-hour set list right now, because we're cutting songs out that we're like, oh well, but people love that, but people love that, but people love that. So
but that's,
I don't know. There's pros and cons.
That's the thing of a variety band. Like there should be those decisions made. If you're putting in songs that are like, Paul likes to call them vanity songs, right? Like, oh, I love this tune. It's like, yeah, but nobody else does. I talked to my friend Johnny D, who plays in Monkey Fist with me, and he does a great job with like he does a great job with everything he sings, but especially like Bare Naked Ladies, Matchbox 20, all those 90s things.
Oh,
yeah. Like I've never heard anybody sing Semi-Charmed Life better than him, like those kinds of things, right? And we talked about starting a tribute band that had, Bare Naked Ladies and Matchbox 20 in it, because there's enough. I don't know that if you did a Bare Naked Ladies tribute, if there's enough songs that you're not pulling deep cuts, and Matchbox 20, same thing, right? Like they've got their hits, and then, that's an hour. Then what? So you put together a 2-hour show. And then, of course, because you got to have a good name to brand it with, I figure you throw in just what I needed, and you can call it the Bare Naked Matchbox Cars. And now you've got a great band name.
See, that's the way to do it right there.
But I think that's how I've always said I would love to play in an REM tribute band.
Oh, that'd be sick. Everybody
says that. And then you start talking about the set list, and people are like, oh, yeah, those are weird songs. It's like, oh, yeah, I know. The REM was a weird band. Like, but is there enough there to draw
for people
out?
To go, oh, yeah, REM. Yeah, I go check that out. Yeah. I think my selfish, probably not successful, but tribute band I'd want to be in is Kings of Leon. I think that's one of those bands where the name will bring people out, but you're gonna cap it that, like, you'll only get this many people to come out, but then you could really, because Kings of Leon fans know all the hits, but also there's some great deep cuts that the fans will absolutely love, but your general mass is gonna be like, Sex on Fire.
That's it.
Play
That's
it again.
What they want to hear. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think the same thing is true with the REM tribute. Like, they have more songs, obviously, but their live show was so dependent on that band playing those songs, and specifically Stipe being Michael Stipe. And so do you have somebody that can do that? I'm sure there are REM tribute bands around the country. I've never seen one, but maybe somebody will tell us. So, and then I've been talking to another friend of mine who is working on starting an all-male Taylor Swift tribute band, which I'm
too late. It's already us. Pork Tornadoes already do that, bro.
You're kind of that.
You can't have it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're definitely gonna do it. We came up with some names. Actually, I had ChatGPT come up with some names the other day, and one of the best ones was the Ex-Boyfriends Club. So
that's awesome. There's actually a band that just got I like these bands that are going away from, like, they're not picking the band, they're picking more of an idea instead of just the variety. So there's a band, we do this giant show every year. There's this theme park in Des Moines called Adventureland, where every year they go to 21 and up, no kids allowed, and it's an Oktoberfest where there's like 8 stages around the park. You walk around with your beer to ride all the rides and see all the bands. It's the greatest show ever. But we always do like the headline spot on the main stage, but they always put like they'll bring in some bands from out of state or regional. The band that is playing before us is called the Little Mermen.
Oh,
and I had to look them up, and they're like, they do like Disney tunes, but they're just dudes doing like Disney songs. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm in. Let's check it out, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. Like, I think that kind of thing, I think there's something. So once we start our all-male Taylor Swift tribute band, we'll play our first gig in Cedar Rapids. So
done. Let's do it.
That's right. Yeah.
Then just be aware
come
that
right in and compete with you. That's it.
We tend to be, and we haven't done it in a long time, but we were joking about it the other day when we used to play clubs, kind of our hometown club. Whoever the band was that opened before us was usually a friend's band.
Sure.
Whatever song they ended on, we would always open with, just to be like, yeah, dude. But that was more as friend to friend thing.
Yes.
But we'll see how much we like you guys and decide if we're going to open up with the same song. You can't end with Shake It Off, because we'll come right out of the gates with it.
And that's the song that would either open or close the show. It would have to.
Yeah, we usually put, right now we're doing, at any given point, we could pull out 5 Taylor Swifts. I think we do Shake It Off, Ready for It, Trouble. I Knew You Were Trouble is like still one of the loudest you'll hear a crowd sing, because everybody knows that song.
Yeah, for sure.
Style, and then we're going to add Love Story, actually. We think that might be our new encore song. But Taylor, to anybody out there that doesn't listen to Taylor just because you're like, oh, Taylor Swift, like she's incredible. Honestly, like, I love her stuff.
Same. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't I don't know if Taylor Swift stuff will stand the test of time. Like once the generation that's currently obsessed with her sort of ages out, will that music make it to the next generations? I don't, and I don't, obviously I can't know the answer to this, but I'm not sure it will. She has captured a vibe for people that clearly resonates with people, but I don't know that the songwriting is enough for those songs to persist when she's no longer like the person she currently is in her whatever 30s. You know what I mean?
You never know, though. I mean,
I don't know.
I think you could have said that about the '80s bands like Motley Crue and stuff, and Journey. You know, like, well, this is just the time. Everybody's very into this, but like they're still they'll play forever. You know, like there's a song.
Yeah, but REM won't. REM was huge. And talk about a band that captured a vibe. Like
you're
no
right.
one even knew what their songs were about, and they loved the band, right?
That's
because
true.
they just had an essence. And I feel like Taylor Swift is more, not that she's a bad songwriter, but I don't think her songs themselves are enough. I think it's the vibe, the essence is part of it. We'll find out.
You got to think about the nostalgia aspect of it, though. Like as these 14-year-old girls age and then become 34 and 44, we all think back to the music of our childhood fondly and like, oh man, simpler times. I loved it back then, you know. So you never know if that's what might do it. But there's a song, my favorite song by her.
What about a combo band that's Jonas Swift, the Jonas Brothers and Taylor Swift, right?
Like
that's
that.
Yep.
I like that, man. There's a song she had on Evermore called Coney Island. And it features the dude from The National, if you know who The National is.
Of course.
Like, I don't know what it is about that song, but that song will stop me dead in my tracks and just be like, I think it was actually one of the songs I played, like when my first daughter was born, we had those little like headphones you kind of put on the belly so you can play music to it. And that was one of the songs I played for her.
Amazing.
I'm like, I just love this thing. So yeah, I think if Pork Tornadoes ever did something, that is the route we would go. Actually, we'd go like probably all Taylor Swift or something like that. But nope, too late for that now. We all got kids and we don't practice, so
right, it's not going to happen.
Band's over.
Well, but then look at like where I am here, where my kids, I'm an empty nester, and it's like, well, now I'm okay spending a little more time like learning songs and things like that. So you never know. You never know.
I just thought for
the next 20 years are going to be interesting for you, and then from there,
I thought for sure that the minute one of us had kids, that this thing was going to end, and if anything, like I think it's kind of made the drive to do it stronger. The idea that we're doing something we love with our best friends and getting paid really good money to do it. Or I'm viewing it like this. I'm not going to work much with my real job over the next month. I don't get paid like to have paternity leave, but I'm just not going to work because I can leave town for 2 days and make more money than I would at my regular job to then just sit at home and enjoy it. And I think that's kind of the way all of us are looking at it right now, that's great. Hey man, we got to do this while we can, because someday it's not going to be there and we're going to regret that we didn't push it as hard as we can. And we have incredible wives, and we'll see what happens when the kids get to like sports age, weekend activities age. That's what we'll see will happen there.
Correct. That's the hard part. All right. So we talked about putting together a poll on Spotify for everybody who listens on Spotify. And if you don't, so it is the poll should there be territories for tribute bands? Is there something better? I think that's the one.
I think there, and I'm going to go on record and say that yes, there are territories. I'm going to say you can't come in there unless you guys have a battle. If Foo Fighters band wants to come to Cedar Rapids, they have to do a band off to see which Foo Fighters band is allowed to stay in the area. It's like fighting, like old Roman Empire.
Death.
Yeah. Yes, to the death for sure. You have to hand over your Facebook page and you can hit delete on it.
You're racing for pink slips here, at least territorially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm on record saying yes, there should be territories.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm on record. I don't know that I have an emotional attachment to it, but I don't have an emotional attachment to a lot of things that other people do. So that's not atypical. It's pretty on brand, but I think that there simply are territories to tribute bands. Like I think it's just part of the deal. Is part of why tribute bands work. Candidly. So
I agree, man.
Yeah. All right, so playing for pink slips. That's what we're doing here.
Well, and actually, this is a real quick thing. This brings up something else I was thinking about. That you know how you get that mentality. We see it a lot in some of these cover band Facebook groups of the mentality of like a band thinks they're just so good and they're so much better. That band sucks. My band's better. You get this weird mentality among adult cover band people. And I was thinking about why.
Adult with air quotes.
Yeah, air quotes. I was thinking about why, and I was comparing it to sports. That like if you're a basketball team and you think you're really good, you've been practicing and you're doing exhibition games in front of your fans, and you're like, we're so good. That dies when you go out and play another team. You see yourself in real time versus another team, and you're like, oh, yeah, we're not as good as we thought. But bands never, ever, ever get to like do it side by side for the most part, where like your band plays a song, that band plays a song, your band plays a song, in front of the same crowd, and see like if that band is actually better than you, where you have this false sense in your head that you just played 4 hours at Jim Mitchell's Tap and the crowd was crazy and they were yelling and they were saying Freebird.
No, I've always said the thing about playing music, and I'll say this to somebody, especially if it's like a theater gig and somebody's like nervous about being on stage, because I generally only take theater gigs where I'm on stage, but other band members that might be their first time or whatever, and I'm like, no, you got to understand, this isn't like a sports game. You know, we're not a sports team. We're a band. Everybody in the room is rooting for us to succeed.
Exactly.
We don't have half the room rooting against us. Like, so if you screw up and then you recover, everybody's happy. Like, everybody wins. Woo! You know, you did it. So yeah, you're right that bands, other than like those high school Battle of the Bands things that used to happen, like they don't,
which are always
happen
rigged,
anymore.
by the way, because I didn't win, so it was rigged. Like
obviously it was
happened,
rigged.
You know, like,
At my high school, and this will definitely show you like signs of the times, we had gong shows, and it would be 3 teachers from the school who were the judges, and any one of them could get up and like swing the gong, and just like
stop.
on the gong show of the day, the other teachers could like physically grab them and try and stop them from swinging the gong. But if they swung the gong while you were on stage, your time was over. And I remember one band put together, a band of a friend, 3 friends of mine played Rush's Xanadu. And that's a hard tune. You know, They learned it just for the Battle of the Bands. It was a big deal at our school. And like halfway through Xanadu, one of the like gym teachers or whatever gets up and whacks the gong. And the guitar player in that band was and still is a fantastic musician, my friend Al Havoc. And he was so pissed. He was like one of these people he was a little, like you looked at him and he was like a little off the wall, but he was super polite, great student, always excelled at everything he did. And as soon as that guy hit the gong, he gave him the 2 middle fingers and then grabbed his guitar and started into Purple Haze. And of course, they escorted him off stage and they had to suspend him for a day or two because he had, given a teacher the middle finger in the middle of a performance. But the guy deserved it. Like, that's how that goes. If you're going to gong somebody, you better be ready for what's going to happen. Yeah.
I've only played 2 Battle of the Bands, and both were complete and utter disasters. It's like I'll never. If anybody ever asks me about, hey, should we join that Battle of the Band? I'll say no. Do not do it. Like, do not. They are not. They are not worth your time. And here's 2 stories of why.
Yeah, I had enough good like outcomes. I played a lot of Battles of the Bands when I was. When I was in high school and kind of early college or whatever. And generally we did pretty well. And even if we didn't win, there was always some like somebody there that was like, you guys were great. I want to book you. And like, so it was always good in the end for something, although you didn't know what that something was necessarily going to be going into it. But
I think the modern day, what it's evolved into, it's usually like you got to pay to get in, and then and it's by this sponsors, and then these judges are doing this. It's like, no, the old fashioned idea of it was way better than whatever it is now. There's no way.
No, there was one Battle of the Bands that we played and we crushed it, and there was no objectively there was no reason for us to lose, and we lost. And one of the judges came up to me afterwards, and he's like, what happened? He's like, how did you lose that? And he was a booking agent that had booked, I think, individually kind of every band that was on the stage. So he didn't really have a favorite coming in or whatever, but we all knew each other. He's like, how did you lose that? I'm like, he's like, I gave you like the top. He's like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I gave you this top score. I'm like, oh yeah, that judge sitting to your right. Oh, he's like that guy. I'm like, yeah. You saw our singer on stage? He's like, yeah. Well, our singer slept with that guy's girlfriend, so that's why we lost.
And we knew it was going to happen.
And we knew it was going to happen going in. He didn't tell us until we were like backstage ready to go on. He's like, by the way, guys, I noticed one of the judges is so-and-so. I think it's not going to go so well. Sorry.
Have fun.
Yeah. So we did. We went out and crushed it. It was like, all right, well, we know that we're going to get a 0 from that guy.
Ours was, I'll make it quick. They judged it by sound decibel reader from the crowd to yell.
Okay.
Which is like, okay, whatever. And the guy's like holding it up. He's like, okay, vote for this band, go. And the crowd can see what the level is. First band comes up and it's like a 50. Second band is like an 80. Then us, I have a video of it. I'll share it with you. It's sound piercing, deafening. You've never heard a crowd yell this loud in your life. It broke the meter. So the meter read 2 decibels. That's all it said. And and the guy's like, he's like, well, second band wins. Like he just made a gut call to be like, technically the sound decibel reader said you only had 2 decibels. So, second band wins, and it was for $10,000.
Oh,
$10,000, which is the only reason we entered it
many times over since then.
Yeah,
so.
Well, it still would have been nice.
Of course.
Oh yeah,
but it those moments in life that put chips on our shoulders.
Oh yeah,
are very powerful moments. Very powerful moments.
Dave, that's a whole nother episode because I'm a bit. I've changed a little bit over the last couple months about that chip on my shoulder. That's how I've done it for 10 years, man, is a chip on my shoulder, me against the world, my band against the world. And honestly, it's brought a lot, but also I do think it's brought some negatives too. And so maybe that's our next episode. We'll have to unpack that in like a therapy kind of a session.
All right, we'll do rock and roll therapy next time.
Good.
I like it. Folks, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you visit giggabpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list. We'll put links to Pork Tornadoes and Confused Breakfast, Mike's other podcast. And thanks for doing this, Mike. Yeah.
Always a pleasure, man.
Got anything to add before we're out?
You got to always be performing.
Obviously. And we're out. Sweet.